Please stand.
Dear God, as we gather this evening, we ask that you influence our hearts and minds so that we govern this city fairly and justly. We thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed on our community and ask for your continued protection upon our city staff and crews. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Before we continue on with the agenda, I was going to make a quick announcement that we're doing a little procedural change here. And thanks to the excellent suggestion of Councilman Merle, the consent agenda now will be read in full before we actually take any action. That way, people in the audience or streaming online will know exactly what we're voting on. So good job, Johnny. I like that. That's a great suggestion.
All right. Up next is the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes from the June 16th, 2025 regular meeting and a bid of $51,609 for a police van.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. Okay, any discussion on the consent agenda? Is there any public input on the consent agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it.
Up next, guest speakers, we have KPM CPA's presentation of FY 2024 annual audit report.
And before Matt gets up here, I just wanted to do a quick intro and also just to introduce this item. So this is our annual audit. Just a reminder, that is not a guarantee that there is no fraud, but it is a good start, right? So our financial audit, you guys pay for it every year. The auditors technically report to you all, but they work very closely, of course, with our finance staff. So I also wanted to take a hot minute just to thank the finance staff for all of their hard work. This takes up a solid 5 months of our lives. So we're very happy every time that it's this time of the year where Matt gets to come and present the audit to you all, because it means we're kind of done with that year and we can move forward with our lives and into budget season. So at any rate, our audit, the auditors were here toward the end of December doing some testing on our inventory item, which of course, because we have utilities, it's a kind of a big item for the audit, and doing a little bit of prelim work. And then they were back again in April for the longer field work period of a week where they tested a lot of other things, including some of our grant items as well. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Matt from KPM.
Good evening. That was a good intro. My name is Matt Wallace with KPM CPAs out of Springfield, Missouri. I think I got you all a copy of the audit report. So my plan is just to kind of walk us through the reporting package. Of course, if there are any questions as I go through that, don't hesitate to let me know. Thought it was kind of funny. Erlene said, you know, we're finally done and we're in July. So it's like we're almost ready to start again soon enough.
Yeah.
If you want to follow along, we'll start on page 4. So on page 4, and Erlene kind of alluded to this, the reason you all hire us is to issue an opinion as to whether your financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So the main 2 paragraphs you all care about are those top 2 paragraphs underneath opinions. You can read through that, but the city did receive an unmodified opinion, which means that the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with GAAP. That's the best opinion that you can receive from a financial statement audit. Another way to look at that, if you continue to read through that, is that there's reasonable assurance that your financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. So that's another way you can look at that as you read through that. As we go through the reporting package, next we'll stop on page 8. So on page 8, we have the first page of the management's discussion and analysis section of the audit report. I always like to point this out, probably the next 10 pages or so. There's a lot of good summarized information and comparative information. So you can look at the fiscal year 2024 compared to 2023 as well in a more consolidated version. There's also a good section in there called economic factors and an outlook for fiscal year 2025. That's going to give you some information about the current year that you're in right now, written from management's perspective. So I think Erlene and Sam had a hand in that. So I always like to say, if you just want kind of a brief overview of how 2025 or fiscal year 2024 went, I would go to this management discussion and analysis section of the audit report. Next stop for me is going to be on page 22. I don't want to get too bogged down in the numbers since we are in July now, but I did want to hit some of the highlights from your financial statements. So on page 22, we have the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for your governmental funds. Basically the income statement for your governmental funds. And again, I just want to hit some of the highlights. The financial statements have gotten so large now, this income statement is 2 pages. So it's page 22 and 23. So we'll do a little bit of flipping back and forth, but I'll try not to have you guys flip back too much. But we'll start on that very first column, general fund. So total revenues for the general fund, we're right at $9.8 million. That was up about $100,000 from the prior year. Of note there, I always like to point out that very top line, your taxes up about 7.7 million. That was up about $180,000 from the prior year. Continuing down for the general fund, near the bottom there, you're going to see total expenditures for the general fund. We're right at 9.8 million. That was up about 450,000 from the prior year. Of note there, your 2 main changes came in the police line about halfway down of about 3.1 million. That was up about $270,000 from the prior year. And right, not too far below that, the fire of a 1.4 million, that was up about $110,000 from the prior year. And real quick, just to round out the general fund, let's flip over to page 23. Stay in that first column there. Of note there near the top in the other financing sources and uses section, I did want to point out, you'll see TIF closeout as a line item. That was TIF number 3 that closed out in fiscal year 2024. So of course, all the funds in that TIF got distributed back to where the taxing districts, and also of course some of that went to the city as well. So you see the general fund had a $321,000 positive impact of that TIF 3 closeout. And that left a total net change in fund balance for the general fund, or a net income of about $88,000, and a fund balance for the general fund at right at $4.4 million. Wanted to go back to page 22, and we'll just hit again some of the highlights in these other funds. I did want to point out in the second column on page 22, your grants fund. That's where you have all of your grants for the city located, and you've had that for the last couple of years. But I wanted to point out there that intergovernmental revenues, which is your grant revenue line item, that was almost $7.9 million in grants in fiscal year 2024. To put that into perspective, in fiscal year 23, you all had about $2.7 million. So just a ton of capital grants, and a lot of them were capital grants, a lot going on as far as capital projects go. And you see there near the bottom, a lot of that capital outlay, or a lot of the grants were related to capital outlay of about $5.5 million. That was detention bases. There were a lot of different projects, but detention bases were probably the largest. And the third column there, transportation sales tax fund, total revenue was right at $3.1 million. That was up about $80,000 from the prior year. And at the bottom for the third column, transportation and sales tax fund, you'll see total expenditure right at $2.7 million. That was up about $325,000 from the prior year. No specific item within that of note, but just kind of a general increase. In the next column, your capital improvement sales tax fund, total revenues are right at $3.2 million. That was up about $350,000 from the prior year. And total expenditures were right at $3.2 million, which was down about $115,000 from the prior year. That fifth column there, your non-major governmental funds, there's several funds that make that up. Those are on page 68. I wasn't going to go over those in detail, but if you did want to see what all those funds are and how that gets pulled forward into this financial statement, you would want to go to page 68 and kind of review those on an individual basis. We'll go to page 23, round that out just to kind of show where your fund balances ended here. That third column, again, we'll go back to the transportation sales tax fund. You'll see there was a net change in fund balance of about $870,000. And that left the transportation sales tax fund with a fund balance of right at $2.4 million. Capital improvement sales tax fund, the fourth column over there, it had a net change in fund balance of about $145,000, leaving a fund balance for the capital improvement sales tax fund of almost $2.9 million. And then in the very far column, the total governmental funds, you'll see for all your governmental funds, the total fund balance is almost $11 million. And overall, that was down just about $27,000 from the prior year. Next, we can go to page 26. So on page 26, we have the same statement, the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position for your enterprise fund. So the income statement for your enterprise funds. And again, just want to hit the highlights here, but I just go over the very far column, your total enterprise fund column, and then just tell you some of the highlights that generated those results. So total operating revenue for all of your enterprise funds was right at $27.4 million. That was up about $275,000 from the prior year. Of note there, the electric fund, the first column, that was up about $1.1 million from the prior year. The third column, the sewer fund, that was down about $280,000. And your largest decrease was there in the sanitation fund, your fourth column there, that went down about $550,000 from the prior year. Total operating expense for all of your enterprise funds, the far column again was right at $25.9 million. That was down about $460,000 from the prior year. And within the funds, I just wanted to point out a few highlights of what caused those results. The first column, your electric fund, purchased power of about $10 million. That was down about $570,000 from the prior year. In the third column, your sewer fund, that contracted service line of about $1.2 million. Wanted to point that out. That was up about $300,000 from the prior year, mostly related to treatment plant design that happened in fiscal year 24. And in your fourth column there, the sanitation fund, the landfill services, the sanitation services of a little over $900,000, that was down about $130,000 from the prior year. And again, that resulted in an overall operating expense of about $25.9 million, which was down about $460,000 from the prior year. Also wanted to point out there in the non-operating revenues and expenses, that interest income line. So for all your enterprise funds there, you'll see your interest income for the year was about $827,000. And as we go down to the next section there, the contributions and transfers, I also wanted to point out that capital contributions federal, that's federal grants that you had in your enterprise funds of a little over $2 million. That was actually the city's ARPA funding that's been carried for the last several years. Fiscal year 2024 was the last year of that. So the ARPA funds now are fully spent, fully recognized in the income statement. So we won't see that that specific grant anymore for the city. And then that left a total change in net position for all of your enterprise funds at right at $3.7 million. At the very bottom, you'll see for your total enterprise funds, a total net position of right at $66.9 million. Next, I want to go to page 29. So we real briefly went over the actual numbers in the financial statements, but the notes to the financial statements, which start here on page 29 and go on probably for the next 20 plus pages. I always like to point out, great place to go for more detail. When you're reviewing your balance sheet and your income statement, you're going to find a related note in the financial statements for that's going to give you more detail. And that was part of the audit process. So if you go through any of that and you see any numbers in there, that was part of our audit process as well. So I always like to say, great place to go if you're looking through the numbers and you just want more information on whatever that line item is, you're going to find something in the notes related to that. I just wanted to point out a couple as we flip through it, since there are so many notes in here. We can go to page 39. And there were no new notes this year, so I'm just wanting to hit a couple of highlights that stood out to me. On page 39, we actually have the second page of note 7, which is your long-term liabilities for your business type funds, for your enterprise funds. Just wanted to point out there, since we have all the debt associated with your business type funds, we talked about all the work that had happened throughout the year. I thought it was kind of interesting to see. Right, obviously, the city doesn't have very much debt for the business type funds, and in fiscal year 2024, the Series 2020 bond was actually paid off. So there's really only one certificate of participation left in the enterprise funds of a little over $1.2 million. We go to the very next page, on page 40, at the bottom of the page, we have that same summary of long-term debt for the governmental activities, so for all of your governmental funds. That is also interesting here. You can see in fiscal year 2024, there was a lot of debt payoff as well. Your Series 2012 and 2015, both of those COPs were paid off in fiscal year 2024, leaving very little borrowing there in the governmental funds as well. If we go to the very next page, page 41, I also found this a little interesting. Note 9, your capital assets, as we discussed, there are a lot of grants that the city received in fiscal year 2024. And with that, there was a lot of capital projects. So you can see that additions line for your governmental activities. Adding that up, there's about $7.5 million total added to capital assets in the governmental funds in fiscal year 2024. Of course, a lot of that was funded through grants and some local matches as well, but a lot of the capital projects going on in the city in fiscal year 2024. Then I just had one more item to point out on page 55. So at the very bottom on page 55, note 20, there was a restatement to the beginning balances, and that was related to a new accounting standard that started in fiscal year 2024. Not a large impact, but there was a new standard for compensated absences, which requires probably the easiest way to put it is before you would only accrue the liability that you knew you were going to have to pay out upon retirement. Starting in fiscal year 2024, the standard requires you to show the liability of any compensated absences that are accrued at all at the end of fiscal year 2024. So you can see the total net effect to your financial statements was about $690,000 of a liability, and that's to show that full liability of what is earned at the end of fiscal year 2024. It's kind of interesting because it doesn't mean you're actually going to have to pay cash out at some point. It could be a liability that's never actually comes to fruition. But the standard does require us to show that as a liability now in the financial statements.
Okay.
Next, I want to go to page 78.
Matt, I've got a question. on
Yeah.
that. The uncompensated liability, you give me a sample of what liability wouldn't be paid?
Yeah, so I don't remember specifically what your like comp time, is it sick leave or PTO? I couldn't remember. So sick leave. So let's say sick leave is what it would be. So all of that's earned, but not necessarily will that all be used at some point in the future. Someone may leave, or there may be some other reason why that's not ultimately used or paid out. But all of that liability is now showing in the financial statements.
So when a person has that accrued and they retire, does that compensation not go with them?
No, they don't. We do not pay out sick leave upon separation from the city, but because when we switched to a PTO combined vacation and sick leave, we kept the sick leave accruals that employees had made at that point for later if they needed those for whatever. But no, we won't pay that out upon separation.
Why do you have to show it?
That's great. I don't make the rules. I think the idea is when someone looks at a financial statement that they'll see everything that's earned by an employee and is a potential payment that the city will have to make in the future. It's an estimate, so it's not a hard dollar amount.
Show it as a potential liability.
Yep. I asked the same question though when I saw it. All right, on page 78, I always like to point this out. This is a schedule of findings and question costs. This is a kind of a summary that you only receive if you have a federal compliance audit. But I was thinking it gives a really good recap of everything we did from a financial statement audit perspective. So that top section, that financial statement section, we've kind of already gone over that. The city did receive an unmodified opinion. Within that, we also review internal controls and report any findings we have on internal controls over financial reporting. And you can see there were no findings there, nothing to report. And also no non-compliance material to the financial statements as well. So again, the best results you can receive from a financial statement audit. And then that second section is federal awards. Anytime you spend over $750,000 in federal awards, you receive a federal compliance audit. You can see down there the two federal programs, the major programs that we had to test were the Economic Adjustment Assistance. That's the Stormwater Basin EDA grant that you all received. And then your ARPA funds as well. Again, that was the $2 million, the kind of the last amount that the city was holding that they received from the federal government. And you see there, related to internal controls of those two major programs and compliance, we had no findings on that as well. Again, the best results you can receive from a federal compliance audit as well. Other than that, the only other item I wanted to go over, I think I gave you all a separate letter that I placed on top of your audit report. So in addition to the audit of the financial statements and the review of your federal major programs, we also like to have that separate letter to management, just going over any other sort of recommendations that we had during the audit process. So I wanted to briefly touch on those. You'll see the number 1 near the bottom there, cybersecurity and information technology controls. This is just an ongoing recommendation that we have for all of our governmental clients. There were no issues that we noted related to the city specifically, but it's important just to be vigilant and continue to review your internal controls related to cybersecurity. Unfortunately, we keep seeing various issues at different governments. So like I said, nothing I saw specific here, but just something to stay abreast with and vigilant with. On the next page, item 2, related to new accounting pronouncements. You can see you have a couple, 102 and 103 coming up over the next couple of years. They're not really going to have a large impact on the financial statements. That 102 that's next year, I don't think it's going to have much of an impact at all. We may have a new note disclosure and we may not, but shouldn't be too much. Of course, we'll assist Sam and Erling go through that process and see how that needs to be implemented, but can't imagine there's going to have much effect on the financial statements there. And then item 3, utility software reports. That was new this year, but really, you know, that software that you all have, we're still kind of learning that. As we were going through that, Erling was able to go through a process of reconciling those reports and getting us the information that we needed. But, you know, there just wasn't a real simple way to do that. It required a lot of work on their end. So one of my suggestions to Erling during that process was to get with the software provider, let them know what we want and what would be good for them to review on an annual basis, and just see if they can put together a nicer report so we don't have to go through that reconciliation process. Important to note, of course, we did ultimately get the information that we needed through that reconciliation process, but it just felt like to me it was a lot more work on the city to have to do that than really it should be. That I think the software provider should be able to do that going forward. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have. Of course, I want to thank you all for allowing me to present. Erling pointed out as well, you know, Erling, and really, you know, as we go through federal programs and everything, there's a lot of people here at the city that help us out during the process. But of course, Sam, Erling, the whole team, the finance team, we're great to work with. Yeah, we're out here for a week for that main audit, but they provide us so much information on the front end electronically. Erling's not wrong. I mean, we are kind of, you know, bugging them for about a 2 or 3 month period. So we definitely appreciate all the work that they did to get us all the information that we needed. Really easy to work with and a good working relationship. And I can answer any questions y'all have at this time.
I think from our point of view, we really appreciate your professionalism. I know Erling's team is spot on. And you pointed out we're going to work on that utility software, so that's on our things to do list. But thank you very much for your professionalism.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, and I'm always available. Erling has my contact information. So if y'all do have any questions as you read digest the large book here, you can always reach out to me and answer any questions that you have. So,
Thank you, sir.
all right, thank you.
All right. Up next are resolutions. Resolution 2025-11, a resolution of the city of West Plains, Missouri, readopting and reaffirming the requirements and policies of Chapter 2, Article 6, Sections 2-496 through 2-501 of the Municipal Code of the City of West Plains related to conflicts of interest.
Motion to approve resolution 2025-11.
I'll second.
All right. This is just the annual conflict of
Housekeeping
interest.
issue. Yep.
I know that but if you think you hit submit and don't, they really they bombard you with some emails.
Well, I appreciate Kelly for making sure that this ended up on the calendar in July. and,
Yeah, so we don't have to do an emergency.
Scrambling at the last minute to get it in.
Yeah.
Our deadlines. Thank you, Kelly.
Anytime.
Have you been bombarded, Mayor?
Well, I was. I finally went, gosh, I could have swore. Yeah. You'd think you'd just be able to say same as last, but anyway. Any more discussion on 2025-11? There's no public in there, so I'm going to skip the public comment.
That's fair.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it.
Resolution 2025-12, a resolution of the city of West Plains, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into a utility extension agreement between Terry, Teresa, and Seth Johnson and the city of West Plains for property located at 2613 County Road 2010.
Motion to approve resolution 2025-12.
Hey, Shane.
Good evening.
Do we want to have a second?
Oh, yeah.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hey.
This right here is just a rural agreement out there on 2010, also known as Luna Drive. Just to provide a water service. We have infrastructure in the area. Nothing really on us that's going to change anything.
Did this go through planning and zoning?
No.
Did he go through plan?
No.
No? I was gonna say, okay. It doesn't need to, does it? It's not a
utility
real
thing.
utility, never mind. It's not like we're annexing them in yet.
So what's the
Yeah.
purpose of the extension?
It's just a water service, just to provide water to their building there on that property.
But will remain owner of the utility?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, say nay. Oh, ayes have it. There we go.
Resolution 2025-13. A resolution of the city of West Plains, Missouri, authorizing the mayor or city administrator to execute an agreement between Garner Villas 2 LP, a Missouri limited partnership borrower, and the city of West Plains, Missouri lender, Exhibit A, and the loan forgiveness agreement, Exhibit B, and all other necessary documents and actions to complete the proposed project in accordance with the terms and conditions as previously presented to the city council.
Motion to approve resolution 2025-13.
A second.
Good evening.
Mike, good to see you.
So this resolution, we're on phase 2 of that Garner Villa project. It is a separate grant, so we basically have to do all of this paperwork again. We are acting as a pass-through. There will be no utility upgrades because by virtue of the first phase, we were able to take care of a lot of that stuff. So this one, we are largely just, we're being given the grant money and we're passing it along to the people using it.
Okay. Great.
Any questions?
All right,
Thank
no
you.
further discussion. All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say no. The yeas have it.
All right. Resolution 2025-14, a resolution of the city of West Plains, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with American Conservation and Billing Solutions, Inc., AMCOBE, for a utility customer portal.
Motion to approve resolution 2025-14.
I'll second.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, again.
Hi.
So this resolution is to allow us to sign an agreement with AMCOBE. As we discussed at our work session back on June 9th, we've had a lot of conversations with customers about the accuracy of billing data and not certain that the usage that they're being billed for is actually their usage. So this software would allow customers to log into a portal, be able to see it's near real time. It's not their exact reading as of right now, but usually it's about an hour delay from when we get the readings to when they could see them on the portal. But an hour delay so that they could see their usage at any point in time, as long as it's a meter that is being read remotely. So a meter that we can read in the office. That is the majority of our meters. So it probably wouldn't cover some of the bigger water meters and some of the bigger accounts, but for the most part, it'd be most of our electric meters and the significant majority of our water meters as well. In this portal, customers could set up alerts. So if they wanted to say, I want to know when I've spent or when I've used over this much electric, or when I've had this much water, I want to know if it goes over this much in a day, this much in an hour, so that they could get flagged for water leaks, those types of things. It can do all of those alerts. We're also going to pay a little bit extra to get a single sign-on that would allow customers to log into this portal. And from here, they could see their usage and also click on a link to pay their bill. So we're hoping to have both of those things married together by the end of this year. We'll see how the timing works out. This software that we are going with, or that we are recommending, I should say, is Utility Hawk. The name of the company is Amcoby, American Conservation Billing Solutions. But the software will be called Utility Hawk, so that's probably what most of our customers will recognize it as. It was recommended by Tantalus, which is the company who runs all of our meter reading, remote meter reading process. So they highly recommended this as one of the companies that they work with really well and have good results with. If there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Was there a fee for the customer to use that?
This is the fee. So we will be passing this along to customers in their regular rate increases. But it won't be a driver for rate increases. The annual cost is $27,000 about. So that's not a whole lot of money when you're spread out among, basically it would be spread out between 3 utilities. So electric, water, and sewer is billed based on usage as well. So those 3 utilities would pay the cost of this software on an annual basis. So split between 3 utilities and all that, this is not going to be a driver of rate increases.
So that'd be from here on be part of the budget
Yep,
process for each utility.
absolutely. Mhm.
Okay,
Customer won't be seeing a charge.
They won't get a specific charge for the service. No, it will be free every time they log in. It will be free to them to use, so to speak.
I know this will answer some of the concerns, you know, the citizens have and everything. And to step back a little bit, the audit that we just had will be published also, right? But it's not a utility per se audit, but it is. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's, it's already, of course, live on the council agenda, but we publish those to our finance page once this meeting is done. So,
You might want to
Yep.
get with Tommy and Cody and make a,
nobody wants to see audit results. They
Oh,
think they
yeah.
do, but they don't.
better than,
You know better.
better than, melatonin.
I'm the
Anyway.
only one who gets excited about it, I tell you.
Okay, sorry, get
No,
us
you're
off
fine.
topic.
One of the reasons I did also want to mention, one of the reasons that we wanted to go with that single sign-on is because our feedback we've gotten from other utilities who use this type of a software is that it is more highly used if customers don't have to go to a separate place
Yeah.
to pay their bill versus seeing their usage in
Yeah.
near real time.
Yeah,
So that's why
that's-
we're paying a little extra for that.
Yeah, sounds like a good bell and whistle to get.
You know, if there's I've asked about the app before, do you know if there's one on their product roadmap?
It does not sound like it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that changes. Apps are very popular and a lot of places are going to the part where they're creating apps specific for their portals and their data. But yeah.
Especially the payment side of it.
The payment side, I think, is a lot more flexible because there's a lot of like pay by text options. You can pay with Apple Pay, those types of things where you can set up those already existing apps to pay your bills. I do know that our existing payment portal and the one that we're considering in the future, they're not currently looking at apps either for payment of bills.
Okay.
Yeah. But they do, of course, have the mobile friendly version. When you get on a phone, it's a little structured a little differently, so you can get more data in. But of course, when it's small print, it's really hard to read. So
Right, no further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Thank you.
opposed say no. Right, ayes have it.
All right, on to ordinances. Bill 4800 to become ordinance 4800, second reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with BNSF Railway for the permanent closure and vacation of the Thornburg Street grade crossing and for other related purposes.
Hello again, it's been a while.
No, motion, sorry. Motion to approve Bill 4800 to become ordinance 4800, second reading.
A second.
Hi, Mike.
How's it going? All right. So this is our second read. This agreement with BNSF, it is more of a, I don't want to say formality, but we had to get it on paper. And even saying that, after it's been approved here, there will be the follow-up DocuSign process we go through with BNSF, and then we're also coordinating with MoDOT to get all of those papers signed and ironed out after we get through this process.
I know there was a lot of confusion after the last that it was being considered, but this is
Right.
something that's been in works since day one.
Yes, yeah, the
You know,
Thornburg
on
closure has
so-
always been a part of the project.
Yeah,
And while it is alluded to in all of the previous documents, it is not just flat out, we
specific.
want a document strictly for this, and that's what this is.
All right.
Mr. Buffett gonna be here, son.
I got my doubts. I'm sorry.
To get your train. Way through.
Yeah, BNSF doesn't mess with passenger rail a whole lot in this area, and I think that's honestly when talking to them, that's the legal concern. Safety and OSHA. Bunch of issues.
Kelly, would you do roll call, please?
Collins,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Topliff.
Yes.
Great.
Thanks, Mike.
Very low.
Bill 4801 to become ordinance 4801, second reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains, Missouri, approving and adopting a utility billing policy for the city of West Plains.
Motion to approve Bill 4801 to become ordinance 4801, second reading.
Second.
Good evening again. So this is our second reading on our utility billing policies. We went over a lot of these during our work session back in June. We did make one change based on that work session, and that was to add commercial accounts for the ability to put a space on hold for their utilities. But other than that, we've not had any comments or any other changes since that work session. So we had nothing from first reading.
Okay. That was going to be my question. All right. Kelly, would you please?
Collins,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Topliff.
Yes.
Okay. Bill 4802, first reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains, Missouri, authorizing the mayor or city administrator to apply for federal financial assistance on behalf of the city of West Plains and to execute any contracts resulting from such application for any grants between the city of West Plains and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission, providing for capital, operating, and/or market assistance comprised of federal funds to be expended for commission-approved transit projects.
Motion to approve Bill 4802, first reading.
Second.
This is an annual ordinance that we're going to need every year that we choose to apply for transit funding through MoDOT. The last time we did this ordinance was in 2023. Last year, we did submit an ordinance to them, but it was for a completely different set of grants. And somehow it made it through the approval process and we were still approved. So this is to clean that up and to get us all good for this year. So we've already added it for our January meeting for next year. So hopefully we won't miss this one again and kind of be on the back end. But this will be for any operating grants for transit as well as any capital grants. And we do plan to apply for a capital grant this year as well for one of the transit buses or vans. I can't remember which, but a fair amount of money. So
Yeah. Okay. Kelly?
Collins,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Topliff.
Yes.
Bill 4803, first reading. An ordinance of the city of West Plains, Missouri, amending certain provisions of chapter 21 floodplain management to meet the current minimum requirements for participation in the National Flood Insurance Program and further adopting floodplain standard operating procedures.
Motion to, or I guess consider, isn't it? Motion to consider Bill 4803, first reading.
I'll second.
Hi, Emily.
Good evening. We participated in a formal audit with SEMA as part of the participation in the NFIP back in April. There were some small changes necessary in our ordinance. honestly, one was a typo. The only substantive change was a base flood elevation for mobile homes by a foot. So nothing major out of that. And then we also were required to adopt separately our standard operating procedures. Those are listed in the ordinance, and that is the procedures we followed. We just needed to have a standalone document as our SOP. So this will be as part of our participation in the NFIP to remain compliant to adopt the amendment.
All right. Kelly?
Collins,
Yes.
Grennan,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Nice,
Yes.
Topliff.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you, Emily.
All right, no council actions, so city administrator, Sam?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Don't have a whole lot for you this evening, just a note for users of the Civic Center, specifically the pool area. It is probably pretty humid over there because our desert air unit is in non-working order. So we're working with our facilities manager to get some costs on what it would cost to replace, or not replace, but repair that unit. It could be expensive. It's probably all total of $400,000 piece of equipment. But it's also sort of end of life. So we're looking at ways that we can limp that along until we can possibly look at a capital improvement replacement of some sort. But in the meantime, users of the pool area are going to feel pretty sticky when they go over to use the pool. Also, speaking of HVAC and humid conditions, if you walked into City Hall at all today, you noticed it's kind of warm. So we've got an HVAC issue here at City Hall that we're working to repair as well. So encourage anybody that's going to be visiting City Hall, on the City Hall side at least, if you got to stop by and pay a bill, we've got a drop box. You can certainly pay online. There are some options there. If you want to come in and you feel the heat, then you can certainly come in and do that. But we'll be keeping an eye on those temperatures, because if they do climb over the next 12, 14 hours, I might need to look at potentially closing the facility so that we can provide some relief to our workers. But I'll keep you all posted on that if I need to make that call. But other than that, things are going well. Don't think I have anything for you. Some interesting upgrades and some fun things happening over at the library here soon. So speaking of apps, upgrading our application for users of the library, and a kiosk to allow some self-checkout. Those features will be coming soon to the library, so stay tuned. Happy to answer any questions.
So basically, you're saying if you're going to the swimming pool or City Hall, bring extra towels?
Maybe. I would not
Yeah.
encourage people to come to City Hall wearing swimsuits, but
Yeah.
we might have a few employees wearing shorts. So it could get
Bring your own friend.
Excellent. Okay, from my point of view, start checking out what's all's going on downtown. That third Thursday music on the Luster Arcade has been really good. We had some excellent bands during that music festival, and then the first Thursday night downtown stroll is going to be fun. So it's starting to get a lot more family stuff going. Bring the kids out and go to explorewestplains.com, right? Yeah, I just hit it, but anyway. All right, no further business. May God bless, and we are adjourned.